Before the first coin was stamped, before the first crown was forged, before the first law was etched into stone, people wanted. We wanted food, warmth, love. That wanting was not evil. It was survival. A surplus meant safety, but in the shadows of survival, something else awoke. A whisper that enough was never quite enough. They fought not for gold or jewels. There were none, but for the river that fed their children, for the valley that promised life. The winning side did not simply live, they lived better, and the taste of better was intoxicating. Yet even then, in the harshest winters of want, we shared a mother's hand breaking bread, placing it in another child's palm. The same hearts capable of hoarding were capable of sacrifice. From the hunt to the hearth, the same whisper spread. If I take more, my children will have more. If I control the water, I control the people. And so the roots of inequality wound themselves into the soil of human life. It did not take priest or king, coin or crown to teach us greed. It was here before we had words for it. Our oldest stories warned of it, and still we listened with wonder, for even when condemned, power is rarely ignored. Chapter 2: Gods, Kings, and Merchants. When human societies grew large enough that not everyone knew each other's names, something new became necessary. Systems. Systems for trade, for justice, for leadership. But the moment a system exists, someone will find a way to bend it in their favor. Kings did not rise by accident. Neither did priests nor merchants. From Mesopotamia to Egypt, from China to the Americas, power gathered in the hands of those who turned human desire into loyalty and human fear into obedience. Some claimed their throne by the gods, chosen from heaven itself, others by conquest, the land taken as proof of their strength, and others by trade, controlling the roads, the weights, the measures that defined what anything was worth. But here's the truth. None relied on force alone. They relied on division. It is easier to rule a people who do not see themselves as one. Farmers against merchants, soldiers against priests, neighbors against neighbors, all the while, none looking upward to see who profits from their quarrels. And when resentment flared, the powerful stepped in, not to cure the cause, but to point the anger elsewhere. In Rome, they called it panem et circenses, bread and circuses. Feed the people just enough to survive, entertain them just enough to distract, and they will quarrel over scraps while rulers feast. Merchants learned the same trick. As trade expanded, they sold more than goods. They sold identities, the clothing you wore, the spices you burned, the cup in your hand. Each marked who you were, and more importantly, who you were not. To want better things was no longer about survival. It was about belonging to the right group. Greed was never spoken aloud. Kings spoke of duty, priests of service, merchants of mutual gain. But beneath the words, the same restless hunger remained. The stage was set for something greater than armies or altars, a new kind of control that would not need swords nor chains, only stories. Chapter 3: The New Disguises of the Same Old Hunger. The old empires rose and fell, but the appetite for more did not die. It adapted to the future. Where kings once sent soldiers, corporations now send advertisements. Where priests once proclaimed divine will, media outlets proclaim breaking news. Where merchants once sold silk and salt, they now sell identities, lifestyles, curated dreams. The hunger is the same, only the disguise has changed. In the industrial age, machines gave a handful of men more wealth than entire nations once held. Wealth piled higher, hands grew fewer, and the rest were told to be grateful for wages that barely kept them alive. But raw exploitation was never enough. The old trick returned: keep the people divided. By the 20th century, mass media reached millions. It told them who to admire, who to fear, who to blame, almost never the system itself. Entertainment was no longer pastime. It became constant. Every hardship answered with distraction. Work long hours for little pay, they told you happiness was just one purchase away. Lonely, they sold you love. Powerless, they sold you someone to hate. The internet magnified it. Comparison became endless. Validation became currency. Neighbors fought neighbors while billionaires owned the stage. And so the ancient pattern survives. A few gather immense wealth. They shape the stories we hear, and we turn on each other instead of them. Modern greed no longer hides in palaces. It hides in our pockets. It travels in our feeds. The tricks have not vanished. They have only been refined. And as long as we mistake the neighbor for the enemy, the same hunger at the top will keep feeding itself endlessly. Chapter 4: The Happiness Paradox. Every person wants to be happy. That much is obvious. But here is the paradox. Happiness has become a competition. And in competition, someone else's win feels like our loss. It starts small. A child compares their toy to another's. An adult compares their car to a neighbor's. The comparison never ends, because there is always someone ahead. Happiness becomes conditional. I can rest once I'm ahead of them. But as soon as I pass them, someone else appears ahead. The finish line keeps moving. The media feeds this hunger in two directions. First, it shows us the glamorous and the wealthy, lives we'll never afford. Second, it feeds us outrage, reminding us of those who don't deserve what they have. So we keep resenting. Both are distractions. Both serve the same purpose, to keep us chasing and resenting. If I block your joy until mine is complete, and you block mine until yours is complete, we both lose, and in that frustration, we turn on each other instead of looking upward. Division breeds insecurity. Insecurity breeds competition. Competition ensures no one feels secure enough to stop. The happiness we chase could be found now in relationships, in rest, in enough. But enough is dangerous because the content person is a poor customer. And so the story is whispered from birth. Don't stop yet. Don't let them get ahead. Don't be satisfied. Keep them wanting more and more. Chapter 5: The Common Thread. Strip away the labels, the titles, the borders, the flags, the skin colors, the accents, the creeds. What's left? A human being who wants to live without unnecessary suffering. Someone who wants to eat well, to feel safe, to be loved, to have enough purpose to rise each morning. Across every continent and every century, the details change, but the core remains constant. The farmer in ancient China, the merchant in medieval Venice, the miner in 19th century South Africa, the textile worker in 20th century England, the refugee fleeing war today, the settler seeking new land 200 years ago, all wanted the same things: stability, safety, dignity. And history is littered with moments when ordinary people recognize this truth. In disasters, strangers pulled each other from rubble. In strikes, workers from every background stood shoulder to shoulder. In revolutions, farmers and scholars, rich and poor, fought side by side against the corrupt. But these moments are fragile. The more powerful the unity, the harder it is attacked. The media spins new fears. Politicians draw new lines. Old wounds are reopened, and the common thread is buried again. If you could be convinced your neighbor is the reason you struggle, you will never look at the system that is controlling both of you. The tragedy is that greed does not live only above us, but within us. It is easy to condemn the ruler or the billionaire. It is harder to see how we too hoard trust, love, kindness. Unity begins with humility. Because in the end, if enough people see the common thread, the game changes. Greed thrives in shadows, but it withers when people stop chasing and start connecting. Chapter 6. Stepping out of the story. The most dangerous thing you can do in a system built on distraction is to stop playing the part you've been assigned. Every society tells a story: who the heroes are, who the villains are, what life should mean. In our time, the story says happiness is measured in possessions, status, recognition. Your group is in constant competition with other groups, and your struggles come from those beneath or beside you, never from those above. The first step out of the story is noticing it. Once you see how much has been chosen for you, you can begin to choose for yourself. Who benefits if I am angry at them instead of questioning the system? What do I actually need to be content? And is it truly what I've been told to want? How much of my time, energy, and money goes to feeding someone else's greed? Stepping out doesn't mean ignoring injustice. It means refusing to fight the wrong battles. It means shifting focus from manufactured enemies to the structures that profit from our division. It also means learning a radical skill in a restless age: contentment. Enough can be enough. That doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means defining success in ways greed cannot control. Stepping out means choosing connection over comparison. Talk to people outside your circle. Listen without waiting to disagree. Ask what you share before you decide what divides you. Greed thrives when we are isolated, restless, mistrustful. It weakens when we are grounded, connected, aware. You cannot dismantle the whole system alone, but you can refuse to be a cog in its machinery. And when enough people make that choice, the story changes, not from the top down, but from the ground up. Conclusion: the choice we still have. Greed is as old as we are. It sat beside the first fire. It marched with the first armies. It signed the first contracts. It wears new clothes in every era. But it is the same hunger, the belief that more for me at any cost is worth more than enough for all. It is easy to see greed as something out there, in kings, in billionaires, in corrupt leaders. But the same impulse lives in smaller ways in every human heart. This does not condemn us. It reminds us that true change must also come from disarming greed within ourselves. Throughout history, the most successful trick of the powerful has been to make us believe we are enemies when we are not, to turn our desire for dignity into suspicion of one another.
Our differences into walls.
The truth has never changed. The farmer and the doctor, the shopkeeper and the soldier, the believer and the skeptic, all want the same simple things: to live without fear, to be seen, to matter. And so the choice is simple, but not easy. We can keep playing the game, chasing happiness that always runs ahead, measuring our worth against the next person. Or we can step out of the story, see the common thread, and refuse to let greed dictate the boundaries of our compassion. Greed will never disappear, but it can be weakened, denied the fuel it feeds on. And when enough of us see through the distractions, the old hunger will meet something stronger, a shared will to live, not against each other, but alongside one another. The story we have been told for thousands of years is not the only story we can tell. And the new story will begin the moment enough of us decide that enough is finally enough. 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 Finally enough.